Ladies and gentlemen, this bout is set for one fall, and it's for the PWX Heavyweight Championship. Introducing first the challenger to my right. He weighed in tonight at 220 pounds from Charlotte, North Carolina. Kick to kill, Cedric. And his opponent to my left, he weighed in tonight at 202 pounds and comes to us by way of Waco, Texas. He is the Southern Savior, and he is also the reigning PWX Heavyweight Champion, John Skyler.
As often as I've done, oh wait a minute, before we can even start introducing this match, the match was almost over. John Skyler with a super kick on the challenger to his title. Boy, I may never get used to saying that. Cedric Alexander.
Yeah, it's weird. Alexander coming to the ring, literally, he looked out of place without that championship belt around his waist. He's had it for so long. He's been such a dominant champion, done such a great job as champion. He has had his critics, absolutely, but very strange. The mood in the building tonight, I'm going to call it maybe like 70-30 in favor of Alexander. It's almost like even the fans that resented him as champion are still picking him as the lesser of two evils here.
I'm telling you something, Stutzy. I think it's a little bit closer than that. Maybe a 60-40, maybe even, I don't know, 45-55 kind of in favor of John Skyler.
I don't know, man. Listen to those Cedric fans are pretty loud.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's still kind of scary to me that John Skyler actually has an effect on these fans, because as we've heard over the last 2 years that we've been following John Skyler and his rise, steady rise to this championship belt, this is a man who's incredibly deranged but captivating at the same time. You've called him before the David Koresh of wrestling. I don't think that's an inappropriate analogy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is clear that his upbringing in Waco, Texas, the historical events that occurred in that area really affected him growing up, because this is a guy that has learned the power of charisma, the power of charming your way into someone's head to the point that you ultimately take up rent in their headspace, and at that point you can get whatever you want out of them. Skyler is the master of the mind games, the master manipulator, and yeah, he has charmed a significant portion of this audience. We can debate on numbers all day long, but the fact remains, a significant portion of this audience has in fact been charmed by the champion.
This champion,
beer can up against the forehead.
This champion, without even talking about the four-way match from last month, 2 years ago, feuded with Jake Vanning. Huge, long feud, one of the most brutal in history. We talked around the Anthony Henry feud, and of course we saw the conclusion of that matchup earlier tonight, and obviously the ramifications on Anthony Henry's career continues to be effective. And now he is the face of this company, for better or for worse. We're going to see if it is going to be for better or for worse. But John Skyler, he's the man in this company, and I can't be surprised by it.
No, I agree.
John Skyler now, is getting to work on Cedric Alexander, who, and we talk about people in the back being disrespected, namely the Revolt. Cedric Alexander's gripe has not been so much with management, it has been with the fans. In many ways, these people turned on him. Now, in the last 2 months of his reign, his match against Samoa Joe and his early dismissal from that four-way matchup. He was the first man pinned by John Skyler, who wound up pinning the other two afterwards. But it seemed to me that the further he got along as champion, it seemed like, and I say this with all the respect in the world too, Cedric Alexander, he took his eye off the ball, though not in this case, as he caught John Skyler coming in off of that spear. Nearly kicks John Skyler's head halfway to high point.
It might have been the loudest strike of the night on a night that we have seen and heard some brutal strikes. That might be the loudest one all night long.
And Cedric Alexander, and talking about his last 2 years, this is a guy who became incredibly intense, starting with breaking Adam Page's nose 2 years ago at the Chop Shop. He then would go on to that Dream Match series that propelled him into the #1 contender spot. A great feud ensued with Caleb Conley. He beat Caleb Conley for that title last year in this very building. And he defended, but for some reason or other, I will never understand why, but the crowd turned on him. Well, in the last 3 months, he gave that crowd a reason to hate him.
Well, I'm going to say this, and I don't want to be too speculative about what people are thinking, but, you know, it's lonely at the top. It's the same reason that everybody like you and the Revolt and everybody else wants to pick a gripe with management. People, for whatever reason, just intrinsically inside them, are resentful of people that are in charge of them. And when you're the champion, to a certain degree, you kind of run things here. You have the power. You're the captain of the team. You're steering the ship, working, side by side with management. And for whatever reason, these people have decided that for whatever reason, they are super resentful, downright antagonistic towards the people that are leading this organization. I don't have any insight into why either, but it seems to go along with the championship. It seems to go along with people like Tommy Thomas being promoted to a high-ranking official. Maybe these people just have like miserable, normal lives and day jobs. I don't know.
Well, that's why we have our day jobs. But Cedric Alexander, as you were talking about that, flipping off the crowd, saying rude things, flipping them off, making lewd gestures. Like I said, he is giving this crowd a reason to hate him. And that is a tall order to do, considering you have the self-proclaimed Southern Savior in the other corner.
Mm-hmm.
Cedric Alexander, that aggressiveness that started about 2 years ago has kind of reached, in fact, not kind of, it has reached a fever pitch at this point, a crescendo, if you will. And he is now taking out his aggression and his frustration, not just on John Skyler, who he's been in control of most of this matchup, but on this crowd here in Winston-Salem.
Skyler favoring the head and the neck. He might have got hurt on what was essentially almost like a curb stomp into the canvas. Skyler down and really in a defensive position. It's very unusual to see Skyler, who is such a master strategist, it's really unusual to see him in the defensive position this early in a major championship match like this.
I think you're absolutely right on that, but keep in mind, he is always about 2 steps ahead of everything. I mean, you can say what you will about the man, his demented mindset, and the things he has done over the last 2 years, but keep in mind, he is probably the greatest strategist. I would liken him, he's almost the Bobby Fischer of PWX. He's so adept at planning ahead. In fact, he may know that Cedric Alexander, though he has probably the best cardio out of anybody, you still can probably take the kicks of him, though easier said than done.
I almost think of him more like a general, like a great famous general from history. He is conquering land. He is adding to his land, and his, in this case, that's a championship resume, and he has added the PWX championship to it. It is another land that John Skyler has conquered. However, back rake.
Deep in the back with those nails. Double underhook position. Tiger driver in the sit-out pin combination, and Cedric Alexander kicks Skyler in the head to break the pinfall.
However, that championship is up for grabs. It is hanging in the balance. Cedric Alexander could win it back right now and shut down all the momentum that John Skyler has been building for the past 2 years like you've talked about. Alexander has got a huge opportunity to rebound from losing the fall in that four-way championship bout and being the first man eliminated, like we said. This is his chance for redemption. This is his chance to rebound from what had to be, it was a shocking moment for all of us, but you know it just absolutely enraged Cedric.
Well, the name has already been taken by a WWE Hall of Famer, but honestly, the names get so reused in professional wrestling, I don't see the problem in using it. I'll say this about John Skyler, and that match proved it. He is the ultimate opportunist.
Yeah, completely.
And just in every pinfall that he had in that matchup, and look at Cedric Alexander, with that aggressiveness, and probably cost him at least another second or two on that pinning predicament. But John Skyler snuck up, got the pinfall on Cedric, snuck up, got the pinfall on ACH. Some devious tactics, got the pinfall on Caleb Conley. That is John Skyler to a T.
Yeah, absolutely he did.
Oh, huge drop kick. almost used himself as the ottoman to Cedric Alexander's Dick Van Dyke, the way he tumbled over him off of that drop kick, though it wouldn't have taken much for him to fall over. The impact was just so vicious, you can tell from here. Cedric Alexander, his reign as PWX champion is soaring, as we have seen, and they don't call him kick to kill for nothing. You see why there. I mean, this is a man in that dream match series. Beat Chris Hero, beat Jay Lethal. This guy beat so many men as a champion, and that is not the man I saw on the rise. This is a man who is a lot bigger chip on his shoulder, as we like to say up here, with the crowd, with everybody else. And obviously, he's picking not just a fight with John Skyler for the title, who kicks out of that pinning predicament, but he's also picking a fight with this crowd here, and he doesn't need to.
Yeah, you called him lewd and crude, and that's 100% correct. So much attitude, so much just raw emotion coming out of Cedric Alexander. That's what I would call it. It is completely unfiltered, completely uncensored. If Cedric Alexander has a thought enter his brain regarding his opponent, these fans, this organization, cover, shoulders down, we got two. If he has a thought enter his brain about the fans, his opponent, this organization as a whole, whatever, it reaches his mouth almost immediately, and he expresses it. Cedric Alexander literally holding nothing back, holding nothing inside. This new attitude of Cedric Alexander.
I find it interesting you use the term emotion. The emotion has a couple of names: anger, resentment. Obviously, he has something to prove here. Obviously, the stakes have never been higher in his career. This is a position. I mean, we even said it at the top. This guy doesn't look right without the PWX title. We've gotten so used to him having that belt. And now he's looking to put away the man who took that belt from him, embarrassed him at Label Charlotte a month ago, but DDT on the outside. Keep in mind, the title cannot change hands on a count-out or a disqualification. If John Skyler can get back into the ring, heck, if both these men get counted out, and I know Charlie Keller does not want to do that, our referee, I think we could be seeing a no decision at this point. Both men have beaten the living hell out of each other. At the very least, John Skyler's had the hell beaten out of him, and Cedric Alexander's landed on his head.
Talking about the emotions and the names for different emotions, I'm going to add another one. I'm going to add frustration.
Oh, yeah, that's a big
Because
one.
honestly, we talked about it a few moments ago. Cedric Alexander as the champion, what more could he have done? What more did these people, ooh, that was close.
They got in at the 9 count. Continue, Stutzy.
Yeah, absolutely. What more could he have done? What more did these people want from him? It was like no matter where he turned, no matter what he did, Alexander could not win. And I think that frustration boiling over, and it just reached a fever pitch, and something in this guy broke.
Well, the pressure, heavy is the head that wears the crown, so goes the old analogy. I think it's part of that. I also think that there's also at play what we discussed earlier, the just ultimate pressure, and just people just tend to turn on people who are leaders or up there and put on a pedestal like a champion. The media in this country and just people in general, they build you up just to watch you fall in many ways.
Yeah,
and I think that's what it's played.
It's become a societal thing as everyone here in Ziggy's is watching to see which of these two great champions falls. And yes, I said two great champions. I did not misspeak. Skyler carries the championship gold right now, but Alexander is a great champion with or without the belt. And Skyler down to a knee.
John Skyler.
3, 4, 5 headbutts.
I mean, I've seen John Skyler in some very brutal matches. Oh!
Great move, great defensive maneuver right there, right in the rib cage, right in the solar plexus.
Yeah, he's been playing defense really well all night. Knee to the bread basket. Some would even call that a kitchen sink. In comes Skyler, running senton onto the challenger. Again, that's very rare to say.
Focusing all his offense on the core. That midsection, that sternum, everything of Alexander. Skyler, great move.
Slingshot spear, and he could retain his title here. Cover, 1, 2, and a kick out by Cedric Alexander.
Another big strike right to the core. John Skyler's offense has been nothing if not focused. We talked about the master game plan, the master strategist, the master opportunist. Skyler has been on point thus far in his first title defense.
And with his oratory skills, he's also a master debater. John Skyler defending as valiantly as I have seen him fight anybody. It's like he's amped up his game big time. And now John Skyler, reverse out of the fireman's carry, did Cedric Alexander. And Cedric Alexander pulls him back in. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful kick there. Into the cover he goes. Is he going to get that title back? No, he won't. Cedric Alexander, one of the premier talents here in your premier wrestling experience. The longtime champion, now in the challenger's position. And honestly, a battle that he has been very comfortable with over his career. He's been given the opportunities. He's been put in big match situations before. You got to wonder if he's the one feeling right at home as opposed to John Skyler in this situation.
That's a good point. Brainbuster perhaps? No, great move.
Nice reversal by John Skyler, the saving grace. He hit it. He hit it.
Practically out of nowhere. Shoulders are down.
The cover and a 2 count only. Cedric Alexander was dangerously close to the ropes. You had to wonder if he was going to be able to reach out and get it. However, moot point as he kicked out of the saving grace, which John Skyler has put away more men than I care to mention.
Absolutely.
And some women, for that matter.
So many big offensive maneuvers. What will be the one that affects the outcome of this match?
Skyler wearing, you talk frustration in Cedric Alexander. This is a man who is really going to have to dig deep into his cerebral cortex to find the key to defeating already his biggest challenge in his PWX career. Skyler tries to Irish whip Cedric Alexander, but Cedric Alexander hanging on for dear life. Both of these men trying to find whatever it takes to either retain or win back that PWX heavyweight title.
I said earlier, two great champions. They are proving it here. Win, lose, or draw, both these men are great champions. Only one, however, will leave recognized as the PWX champ, and after that huge knockout blow, it might just be Cedric Alexander. Great thinking! Woo!
Michinoku driver into the cover, and oh my God, Cedric Alexander almost pulled it off.
Alexander's confidence shot through the roof. You could see his body language. You could see he thought that was going to be it, and this will be a disqualification if he strikes that official.
He is exasperated at this point. Cedric Alexander is now channeling that, and I think he is about to put the finishing touches on one John Skyler. In fact, at this point now, he is wasting time right now, and now Cedric Alexander has been known to fly. He's going up to the top rope. He's got to hurry up and do something because John Skyler, yep, he's got him scouted and takes the ropes out from underneath him. Not a nice place to land.
Trying to outthink John Skyler is like trying to nail Jell-O to the wall. No matter what you do, he just slips right out from under you.
Have you actually tried nailing Jell-O to the wall?
No, just a metaphor.
I know you've done a lot of other things with Jell-O, but anyways.
Yes, sir. Some in this very room.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my God!
Both men fell off to the hard part of the ring. You talk about how slippery those ropes are and how dangerous those moves, even attempting them, are. Kids, please do not try this at home.
It doesn't come into play all that often, but we just saw it. One of the pitfalls of being in the main event, of going last, is the condition of the ring, the ropes. We touched on it earlier, the perspiration, the sweat. Everyone on the card has hit those ropes or come off of them, and right there you saw it. These two guys, with their own perspiration, sweating in this hot building, they slipped right off, and they both took a horrible tumble to the floor.
And now our referee, Charlie Culler, up to a 5 count, a count that I'm sure that he nor anybody in this building wants to see him make. And now John Skyler rolls the challenger, Cedric Alexander, in, goes into the cover, 1, 2, and a near fall.
Boy, he could have beat him right there. You know, a lot of times I think fans condition themselves to think that it has to be a big, spectacular, visual move that ends a fight. No, a horrific fall like that could have very easily been a fight stopper. Maybe if Skyler, or even for that matter Alexander, could have covered quicker.
See earlier tonight where Anthony Henry got concussed on what seemed to be a quote-unquote routine clothesline.
Absolutely. These rudimentary holds, people have no idea. You know, saving grace. Hold on here.
He's got the cravat locked in. That's step 1.
Oh, he didn't get it. Oh, he did not get it.
Nice reversal. Cedric, another reversal and a super kick, but does not take down the challenger, though he is prone in the corner.
As much as we advocate, don't try this at home, these rudimentary holds that people don't think anything of, you know, grab somebody in a headlock and squeeze as hard as you can, just for a couple of seconds, and just see how punishing these rudimentary holds that we've become so accustomed to.
Oh my God, that was a concussion on delivery.
That was Cedric Alexander's patented drop kick.
And now, John Skyler, what's he thinking here? He's doing the brain buster. He hit the brain buster.
He's going to beat Alexander with his own hold.
No way.
Oh my God.
1, 2. Cedric Alexander manages to kick out.
Can you imagine the reaction of this rabid PWX crowd if he had just beaten Alexander with his own trademark finishing sequence?
What would that have meant for Cedric Alexander?
Somebody that's already on the brink, or maybe even past the brink.
Unbelievable. Well, I think that show of disrespect, I think John Skyler obviously wishes that he pinned him at any point in this match, but I think right now he may have awoken a sleeping dragon.
Alexander getting a breather. No! Slingshot spear!
Speaking of that slingshot spear into the cover and not even a 2 count.
Skyler has still got fight. Skyler has still got reserves in the tank.
And so does Cedric Alexander. A familiar theme of the
my God!
Kick. And now Cedric, that's how you do it. Concussion on delivery. He's going for
champ.
Another one.
Alexander is rocking and rolling. Alexander is going to get this title back.
Yes.
Craig.
Maybe 4.
Craig, this is dangerous. We may get a stoppage here. Charlie Color needs to check on the champion. The champion may not be able to defend himself.
I don't think he can at this point. 5, count them, 5 concussions on delivery.
Right here, Charlie Color is asking the champion. He's seeing if the champion is responsive, if the champion is answering him. If Skyler does not answer the referee's commands, we're going to get a stoppage right here. Alexander will get the title back on a referee stoppage. If John Skyler cannot answer the referee's commands, I'm trying to, his body language, he's not
moving.
He's saying yes. He's saying I can continue.
And now he's continuing to stomp on the head. He is barely able to defend himself. Look at me having sympathy for John Skyler.
Alexander broke. Alexander obeyed the referee's command. Right there, we just saw it. As enraged as he is, as out of control as his temper is, at the risk of being disqualified and losing his chance to get the title back, he obeyed the referee's command. Cedric Alexander, he hasn't snapped yet. His head is still in the game. His eyes are still on the prize here.
Well, that intensity has been channeled for quite some time, but it's kind of like having that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. When will Mr. Hyde take over?
Yeah, Skyler hurting bad here. Skyler wants, no, Skyler's saying don't stop it.
Oh my goodness.
Skyler said don't stop it, but he just ate another kick to the head.
Now that double knee backbreaker. Oh my goodness, for God's sakes.
Oh no, he didn't go for the cover. He didn't go for the cover.
He's going for that brain buster, nails it. I think Cedric Alexander's going to win it back. Here's the cover. 1, 2. That nonchalant cover. He did not hook the leg, and John Skyler is alive enough to roll the shoulder out.
Not only did he not hook the leg, there was very little weight over the shoulders. That's the whole purpose of the lateral press. Put your weight on the shoulders, put your weight on top of the other man, make him exert energy to throw you off. That cocky cover after an incredible sequence may have just cost Cedric Alexander the championship. Look at the cold, dead eyes of Alexander.
Cedric Alexander is clearly getting frustrated. In fact, I can dare say he's looking desperate at this point. The crowd is even getting in his head. You can't beat him. You can't beat him. I would be shocked if can't, I don't think is a word in Cedric Alexander's vocabulary.
Alexander wants the stoppage. Skyler maybe knocked silly here. Alexander wants the stoppage.
Well, Cedric Alexander has got John Skyler up, and oh my God, he is dead weight. Charlie, for God's sakes. Look, I have no love lost for John Skyler. His history speaks for himself. Our relationship speaks for himself. That's still a human being. That's still an athlete. That's still a great talent. That's still our champion. For crying out loud, consider stopping this match.
Alexander. Oh!
Woo! My goodness! Well, nobody's going to stop the match now. Our referee just got knocked out, and Alexander hits the brain buster.
But he knows there's no sense in covering. He sees.
Cedric Alexander, you're right, sees Charlie Color. We don't have a referee, but Cedric Alexander, he's commandeering a cheer from the crowd. This is definitely not the Cedric Alexander I've seen over the last 2-3 years. A more vicious side of him. The referee is out. John Skyler is defenseless. And he is just getting the living tar beaten out of him by that chair. And Cedric Alexander, he's not sitting him down for dinner, folks. This is not going to end well. He's got him in that front face lock. He's going for a brain buster. Come on, Cedric, you proved your point. Come on. No! Ooh. Holy Shiite, come on. He's saying one more time. Oh, come on. You're going to break this man's neck. I'm in bizarre land. I'm defending John Skyler.
The crowd does not understand the seriousness.
Oh, my goodness. Just folded that chair in half.
The crowd and their desire for blood has maybe underestimating the seriousness of the situation. Skyler is out cold.
Management, you have two options. Either stop the damn match or get a referee out here and grant Cedric Alexander the title. I never thought he'd stoop this low.
Well, there we go. There we go. Is it the end of the night? Has everybody else gone home?
Kevin Pierce in the ring makes the count.
Two. Kevin Pierce was right there. Look at the look on Cedric Alexander's face.
Jesus, tap dancing Christ, how did he kick out of that?
Kevin Pierce was right there. It was 2.
Oh, my goodness. John Skyler will not die in this matchup. And Cedric Alexander, you're right, he looks like he jumped out of his own body. Cedric Alexander had this match won in several cases. A shot like that would have taken out the average man, but we're not talking about the average man. We are talking about a remarkable athlete in John Skyler, and he has that belt. He wants that belt back. He's in front of a referee. This could cost him that opportunity.
I said earlier that Cedric had not snapped yet. He obeyed the referee's command. If he strikes him with that belt and gets disqualified, I think that's evidence that he has snapped.
You're absolutely right. And now, oh wait, oh low blow. Speaking of underhand
he walked
attack,
right into it.
Low blow, cover two. Skyler retains.
The mastermind one step ahead of the challenger.
Here's your winner and still PWX champion, John Skyler.
And I think that is your headline for this matchup. John Skyler outlasts and outsmarts Cedric Alexander to retain the PWX Heavyweight Championship, Stutzy.
Whether you like him or not, it was the will of a champion to endure a hellacious beating, to weather the storm and survive. Alexander is enraged. Skyler is nearly crippled, but he had the smarts, he had the wherewithal, he had the perseverance to win at all costs.
And Cedric Alexander, for good reason, is beside himself. And I think, honestly, he may not be done with John Skyler at this point. Circling him almost like a vulture almost. I mean, you hate it for Cedric Alexander at this point, but it almost feels like he's circling the drain.
A heartbreaking night for Alexander, but John Skyler has earned his claim to the throne tonight.
And John Skyler does have a microphone inside the ring. We will hear from the reigning PWX Heavyweight Champion, the Southern Savior. He stands tall in Winston, Salem. It is an amazing thing to see the rise, and he fought valiantly. You can't hate him for it.
I think I said when I became the PWX champion that there was going to be some change around here. And that first change comes in Cedric Alexander, because he can keep going to the back. He can actually go all the way to the back of the line, because that's the last time Cedric Alexander is going to get a shot at my PWX championship for a very long time.
We've talked about it quite a bit.
I promised from day one that I would preach the truth, and that's what I'm about to do. Because you see, tomorrow morning I'm hopping on an airplane and I'm headed to the Orient for a wrestling tour.
That's true. That's very true.
But I'm not going by myself, because I'm taking this with me.
I hope you're coming back with it.
And before you call me a part-time champ, you need to hear one thing. I'm no part-time champ. In fact, I'm going to be the first full-time world PWX champion.
Oh, wow.
So when you hear the name John Skyler, you'll see it along the same lines as Flair, Funk, Steamboat, and by God, Dusty Rhodes.
Girl, you
A gauntlet has been put down for the entire world. You heard correctly. John Skyler leaving for China for an extended period of time, and he will be defending that title in the Asian continent.
Unbelievable declaration from the champion. The next time we see that belt, it will officially be the World Championship.
For Brad Stutz, I'm Craig Veltri. Thank you for watching Heroes vs. Villains, a presentation of your premier wrestling experience. From Winston-Salem, North Carolina, good night.